Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a very special edition of Quarantine Cats. My name is Zack Geoghegan. As always, today is our third episode, and the reason it's actually a very special episode is because starting tomorrow, July 30th, the NBA returns for the first time in what feels like 6.5 years or something like that. So I am very, very excited, even as many have pointed out, mainly my co-host on my other podcast, Jack Pilgrim, likes to point out that I'm a pessimist about this whole bubble thing. Right now, I'm very excited, very happy, very gung-ho, ready to get it all going. With that being said, let's kind of dip into our topics for the day. So we're going to talk a little bit about Adebayo and Eric Bledsoe, about their COVID test and how they're ready to come back, Anthony Davis's eye injury. We're going to talk a little bit about the cases down in the bubble, and then might talk a little bit about some more touchy subjects, like Michael Porter Jr., who I know is not a Kentucky player, but we're going to talk about him in a second, and the national anthem, because that's going to be a very heavily talked about subject once the games actually do begin. But starting with our games on Thursday, we have two games. We've got the Pelicans and the Jazz, not much UK front there. Darius Miller won't be playing. That's at 6:30. Then at 9 o'clock, the primetime marquee matchup is going to be the Clippers and the Lakers. You'll have Patrick Patterson on one side, and then you'll have Anthony Davis and Rajon Rondo on the other. I guess we'll go ahead and dive into these injuries then, because Rondo is not going to be playing. He's still dealing with that broken thumb. He'll probably be out another month or so. Anthony Davis got poked in the eye during his, I believe it was his second exhibition game, and he immediately left, and his status right now for the game on Thursday is a little bit up in the air, so it'll be interesting to see what they do there. I've kind of talked about it in previous episodes, but the Lakers are in a situation where they don't necessarily need to, exacerbate themselves too much in these 8 regular season games. So if Davis has to sit out the first few just to make sure that they're all healthy and ready to go, that's not a big deal. The Lakers are going to be the 1 seed pretty much no matter what. They'd have to go, I don't know, they'd probably have to lose every game, and the Nuggets or whoever was below them, Clippers, would have to win every game. So none of that's probably going to happen. The Lakers are going to be fine. Whether or not you'll see Davis on Thursday is probably still going to be a game time thing. It's going to come right down to the very end. But let's move on to Bam Adebayo and Eric Bledsoe. Those two should both also be ready to go after testing positive for COVID a few weeks ago. Bledsoe's arrival was delayed by about a week. Bam's was about 2 or 3 weeks, but they've all come down. They've all been quarantined, done their negative tests. They're ready to go. Adebayo actually played last night, so they are ready. They'll be ready to play and suit up, hopefully without any errors there. Let's see. I've kind of talked about this a little teaser, I guess. If you tuned into the Max episode that I guess is going to go up later tonight, you would know that we talked about Nerlens Noel and his testing mishaps. So I'm not going to touch too much on that. But essentially what Nerlens did is he forgot to go take his test, his daily test that he takes every single day, along with every other single player, staff member that is down in the bubble. And as a result, he was forced to quarantine for 24 hours. He had to miss a scrimmage game. I should point out that he's not the only player that's done this. Kristaps Porzingis of the Mavericks and Paul Millsap of the Nuggets have also done this. How they go about missing something that should be as structured and scheduled as this bubble appears to be, I'm not sure. I'm sure it won't happen again, though. I've kind of made the point that, mistakes happen, but they can't happen in this bubble. They can't. So hopefully that'll all get sorted out and we won't have any more issues like that. But I guess kind of staying on that subject of the coronavirus, the league actually announced today that they had 0 positive cases. 0 people have tested positive in this bubble, and I think that's now 2 weeks in a row where the bubble is completely clean. So that's very good sign moving forward. A lot of, I guess I can finally use the word now, a lot of optimism on my end in that part. So we'll see how it continues. As I think the real issue is going to be, like kind of with the Lou Williams situation, is how many players are going to be leaving the bubble, coming back. I feel like once the season's in flow, that won't be happening as much. So I feel like once they get going, they should be good, but we will see here. I'm just going to sit back and not get my hopes up too high. But basketball starts tomorrow, so I got to talk about it a little bit. Let's move on. All right, and I think our next topic here is going to be a little bit more of a serious, potentially touchy subject. So we're going to talk about here, I think we'll start with the Michael Porter Jr. issue that has kind of been the talk of the land here lately over the last day or two. So essentially, Michael Porter Jr. came out on, I think it was Snapchat or Instagram, and was saying that he doesn't get vaccinated and that the coronavirus was a thing that was more of his opinion and that he didn't think it was as big of a deal as everyone else is making it out to be. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it is an issue when players do something like this, when they are public and loud about things that they are quite frankly wrong about. It's more of an issue for the fans or people that follow Michael Porter Jr. and things like that. And really, in my opinion, it was more not just ignorant by Michael Porter Jr. to say what he said, but it was more disrespectful. And the reason it's disrespectful is because you've had, and he's a Kentucky player, Karl Anthony Towns' mother died from COVID-19. The first thing that came to my mind was what does Karl Anthony Towns think about him seeing a fellow NBA, a peer of his, spewing pretty much anti-COVID conspiracy theory nonsense. So it's a little concerning. What really bums me out is that the league can't really do anything about it. Dwight Howard has kind of come out and he's said his own thing, and there's really not much they can do. Even Michael Porter's coach, Mike Malone, he came out and was like, he said, "I'm not the thought police," which in my opinion is a terrible answer. But I also get where he's coming from. He can't, tell his players what to do, but he's got to say something. Somebody needs to say something to Michael Porter Jr. because he's being incredibly disrespectful to people that he should consider peers and co-workers, I guess you could say. I mean, Nikola Jokic is a teammate of his, and he had the virus. So I don't understand why Michael Porter Jr. would continue to spew some of this. So I guess that'll be enough of that. It'll just be interesting to see how some other players go about using their platform, because we've seen Dwight Howard and Michael Porter Jr. use it in a poor way. So we'll see if some other player, or if they can kind of switch it around and maybe learn from their mistakes there. And the second issue we're going to kind of talk about here is the national anthem. I guess it's not necessarily an issue as so much a topic of conversation as the national anthem has been for the last 5 or so years. So what's going to happen is the Pelicans and Jazz players have already kind of talked, and they've agreed that they're going to start the season tomorrow at 6:30 with either kneeling or staying in the tunnel. They're going to do something in protest while the anthem is playing. And that's great. The league is very much behind them in this. They almost seem to be encouraging to do that without explicitly saying it. So it's very good to hear. All the coaching staff seems to be all on board. It's going to be very much a very one connected thing that everyone's going to be on board for. So there's obviously going to be people outside of the NBA fandom that are not going to be fans of it, but we don't care about those people. So the national anthem, they're going to be kneeling for it. They're going to be protesting during it the whole time, most likely. I would assume they're going to do it every time the national anthem is played throughout the rest of the season, which I would imagine will be before every game, because for some reason we sing the national anthem before every single game, which is almost a whole other topic of itself that I won't really dive into. I should point out that before the exhibition games, they did not sing the national anthem. So the anthem at this point almost just seems like a lightning rod for players to use to, I guess, help use the protest. In that case, I'm fine with it. If they want to, because beforehand it almost, the national anthem was being used to poo-poo on these protests, and now the players have found a way to almost turn it around and use it, I guess, against those people that were against people kneeling, if that makes sense. I might have not just made any sense there, but I'm going to stick with it anyways, folks. All right, moving on to our last little subject here. I'm going to kind of run down some of the games that you all should be watching for this upcoming weekend, I guess, is what we'll start with here. So let's kind of run through what we've got. So obviously we've got our games tomorrow. Lakers, I did go back and look. Anthony Davis is expected to play. We'll see what kind of goes on there when it actually comes to game time, though. But if the reports are saying he's going to play, he'll probably play. So TNT, 9 o'clock tomorrow. That'll be a good one. Moving on to Friday, we've got a couple of meh games to watch. There's going to be two ESPN games. They're starting at 2:30 tomorrow, and they'll run through 9 o'clock. The ESPN games are at 6:30 and 9 o'clock. Got a few different UK players. We'll have Wenyan Gabriel going on at 4 o'clock. And then we'll also have Devin Booker at 4 o'clock as well. The Suns will be playing the Wizards, and then Gabriel and the Blazers will be playing the Grizzlies. Probably the best game you're going to get that day, or the first good game you're going to get, is that Celtics-Bucks game at 6:30 on ESPN. You're going to have Eric Bledsoe. He'll be ready to go. Enes Kanter as well for the Celtics. They'll be good. 8 o'clock, we'll have the Kings and the Spurs. Keldon Johnson, who has been a shining light in the exhibition so far. We'll see if he can get any clock during these games. De'Aaron Fox should be ready to go as well. The game that I'm most excited for is the game that ends the night. It's the Rockets and the Mavericks. You'll got Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and the Mavericks there. We'll see how much he plays, but overall, that's just going to be a fun game to watch. Saturday is where things are going to get interesting for us Kentucky fans. So at 1 o'clock, you have the Heat and the Nuggets on ESPN. I should point out 4 of the 5 games on Saturday are on ESPN. So definitely tune into all that. It's going to be a fantastic day for basketball. You've got the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets at 1 o'clock. So you got Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, and Jamal Murray. That is going to be the game that I record and probably watch 3 or 4 times, depending on how good it is. Then my team that I have plugged before, the Oklahoma City Thunder, which I believe the Kentucky fandom should be keeping a particularly close eye to. They play at 3:30 against the Jazz. That's going to be a very good game. And then going on, we've got Clippers and Pelicans at 6, Sixers, Pacers at 7, Lakers, Raptors at 8:30. That will actually be a very good game. So a few more UK players, not too much. Then we'll move on to Sunday here, kind of close out our weekend. Let's see. We got Blazers and Celtics at 3:30 on ABC. That'll be a fun game. Wizards Nets at 2 o'clock will be fun if you like to watch G League players go at it. 6 o'clock, you're going to have the Kings again, more De'Aaron Fox. 8:30 on ABC, we'll have the Bucks and the Rockets, so more Eric Bledsoe action. And then 9 o'clock, you'll get some more Devin Booker showtime with him going up against Luka Doncic and the Mavericks. So a lot of really interesting basketball going on. The matchups are what I'm looking forward to. That Heat Nuggets game at 1 o'clock on Saturday should be a real good one. Then followed by the Thunder and Jazz at 3:30 should make for a great first couple days of basketball. So as you can tell, I am getting pretty excited about things. I've said it. I said it in this episode. I'm going to try and keep my hopes still low, just so I'm not terribly disappointed if something goes wrong. But the NBA is doing everything they can to make this a flawless situation and environment. So far, they've actually done a very impressive job. So I just hope that they can keep it up at this point. But anyways, I think, looking over at my little notes here, that is all I have for today's episode. So thank you all for tuning in. We've got a lot of good stuff going on. So the daily BBNBA posts will be returning. I guess they'll be starting on Friday, and then every morning going forward until it either gets canceled or the season ends. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of me. I'm going to try and continue to do these weekly posts just to kind of let you all see my beautiful eyebrows, and it's almost a little easier to watch these sort of things than to read them. I feel like I can talk a little bit more and be myself a little bit more. So it's almost more of a me thing that I do this for as well. But if you enjoyed it, please leave a like or something like that. I kind of forget how this stuff works. I would still love to hear some comments, questions, concerns, anything. If you all would like to lob me some questions about the bubble or what you're expecting, questions about specific players, I would love to answer them. Just shoot me on Twitter or do whatever. Well, don't physically shoot me. But anyways, guys, that is the end of today's episode, and I will see you all next time. It's time for some NBA.